Member missing, Brandon Schmidt. So if he comes in, you can alter your notes. All right, let's move on to the approval of the minutes from the July 6th meeting. Those have been presented. I think, Mike, you're the only one here as a voting member that was at the meeting, including myself, so I'll ask what your,
Okay.
what your
Such is
ideas
the
are.
case, I would make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
And I would second that. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Again, welcome to our visitors today. Appreciate that. We'll get to everybody here. In fact, we'll start with the, under reports, oral and written communications, fire department monthly report. Before we do that, I just want to make a comment or two about a recent fire that we had. I'm just going to say our guys reacted with more precision and more professionalism. Their training showed through. They saved a gentleman's life in a very quick, short order. And I know there's a lot more to it. It's a significant amount of teamwork that was demonstrated that night. I had a chance to look at the video and talk with the guys. Fortunately, they don't get to do that very often. Thankfully, they don't get to do that very often. But that training that we sometimes maybe take for granted or even question at times the amount of training that's done, what I've learned is it really provides that muscle memory that when they get called on a situation and time is of the essence, and it was this time, that training kicks in. And it made a life-saving difference. And our guys went into a situation, they weren't sure what they were getting into. The fire was extremely advanced. They weren't sure how many people were where, if there were people. They were not certain what was going on, but they went in. They didn't hesitate. They went in and they pulled a gentleman out. And it was a heroic thing. But if you talk to them, it was just part of their training. So I just want to make those comments before we start today. Again, thankfully, we don't get the opportunity to do that, but when it happens, our guys were ready, and I'm very proud of that. So, all right, Mike, you're up.
Well said, Mayor. I think that's worth noting. Thank you.
Assistant Chief Bollinger.
So for the month of June, one commercial structure fire, 2 vehicle fires, and 2 vegetation fires that could have turned into commercial structure fires. A lot of the same thing if you remember the spectacle shop when it burnt several years ago. Same thing with bushes and mulch when you see those vegetation fires down there. We provided assistance twice in June, and we called Winona Lake, Leesburg, Syracuse, Atwood, and Silver Lake for assistance also in June. As far as the medical assists go, you could see District 1, which is downtown area here, 71 EMS calls. District 2, which is out on the east side, had 60 EMS. And then Station 3's response area had 20 medical calls. With that, if you look back a couple pages, we have the overlapping runs. Once again, about a fifth of our runs had overlapping runs, whether we had 2 or more firehouses out at the same time during that. So, and thank you for the words. The training that your firefighters do cannot say enough. We had that same type of fire about 15 years ago, and it didn't resolve in the same way. And it is, for a small department, the abilities that it has rivals a lot of bigger agencies. It's the dedication your people have.
So our monthly report reflects 261 calls. You're also going to see they had about, looks to me like 469 hours in training, stuck in with all of that too. So as always, Aaron has the other response form that he talks about that shows multiple calls at the same time. It's just busy. July was even busier, so. Anything else, Aaron?
Nope. You guys have any questions?
Any questions? All right, thanks, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, Lutheran EMS. Thank you for your report.
All right, so this month, you will see during the report in June, we had a total of 289 runs. That's slightly down for us. That's something that we've seen consistent, not just in our area, but
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Sorry.
You got to get close to it.
is that better?
There we go.
Okay. So 289 runs during the month of June for us. That's down about 30 runs from the months previous. That's not just something that we've noticed locally in our area, but the entire state is also discussing that the run number is down quite a bit. Looking at why that is, if people are just getting healthier, if we're kind of rebounding from the COVID, what exactly the situation is. But we'll see that our numbers were down just slightly this month. We had a total of 189 that were transported, and a total of 57 encounters of where we provided treatment, but those patients were not transported. So our response times, again, continue to be excellent. 4.5 minutes from the time of dispatch to the time of our arrival. Again, staying below that national average of 6 to 9 minutes, so that's excellent there. And then in responses to our responding stations, pretty consistent with where we normally see the majority of our runs coming from. East Warsaw, out at Station 3, at what we call our west truck, and then our Leesburg truck backing up those two trucks. So numbers-wise, everything seems pretty consistent. Our call volumes by hour, we noticed in the evening hour we were starting to see a little bit more, and that's pretty consistent with the summer hours when it comes to 911. People try to enjoy the day and stay outside as long as possible, and then realize that they can't deal with the breathing or they can't deal with the chest pain and things of that nature. And those evening number hours have a tendency to spike as they did in July. So I did get, Mike Wilson sent me an email asking about Rochester and how often Rochester is coming into the area. And so we did look at that this past month. Throughout the entire year, Rochester, when we have no trucks available, Rochester will come up and post for us. Throughout the entire year, Rochester only posted one time, and that was during the month of May, and that was also on a Saturday. So we don't have that extra truck, that 10 to 6 truck during that time as well. So there was just that one incident there. So typically when Rochester comes into our coverage area to post for us, when Rochester comes in to post for us, they typically will stay in the Bourbon Atwood area as we're able to get trucks back into service in this close area as well. That one run that they did have to take, I was out of curiosity of the response time, and it was 2.5 minutes from the time of dispatch to that truck even being on scene. So the mutual aid agreements, the processes that we have put into place to move patients and have coverage, it works, and it's proven to work. So, any questions?
Comments? All right, thank you very much. All right, let's move into expenditure reports. We'll start with the operating fund, June of 21 disbursements. And I'll ask if there are any questions. Mike, any comments on any large expenditures that month?
Continue parts on engine 2 that runs out of Station 2. Fuel's about the same, runs consistent. Other than that, I don't see anything really.
Any questions from the board members? With not hearing any, is there a motion to approve the expenditures from Operating Fund 103 for June?
I so move.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. With that, we'll move to the Equipment Replacement Fund, 410. Doesn't appear to be, let's see, anything too significant. Again, any comments, Chief, or?
Yes, I do have. If you go to the very last page, you're going to see listed from, I think it's Coney Incorporation, it's the last one, it says 6 mobile lifts. This is another part of that interoperability with Damien and for Damien, that the wastewater plant and the city budget and our budget helps offset some expenses. So what we did is we had a demonstration completed by a couple different vendors. Mechanics chose a vendor, and you'll see there's a dollar amount there of $27,439.
Yep.
So we split that 3 ways. These are 6 lifts that he can actually lift our ladder truck, get it up so he can work on it. They demoed lifting a loaded garbage truck while they were here. It's instead of us paying $90,000 for him to be able to work on our ladder truck and get it up, or the engines, I think it was a great move for the fire territory to participate in this and splitting that 3 ways.
I don't believe they're here yet.
Yeah.
But I think they're coming real
Correct.
soon.
Yeah.
I went out and talked to Damien about it, and they're excited because it's going to impact their safety a ton. And
Yes, it will.
no pun intended, but those heavy trucks and the fact that he's doing more and more work for you and has that capability is a benefit for everybody.
It definitely is.
So this,
So we appreciate the support from the Territory Board and the Board of Public Works and being able to help our brother and sister departments here in the city.
questions? Is there a motion to approve the expenditures as presented?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, with no unfinished business, let's move on to new business. There's a K-21 health grant that's been made in the amount of $30,000. Would let Chris talk about that and ask for your approval to accept that.
So I came before you and asked permission to apply for the grant for the warranties on the auto pulses. On behalf of the County Fire Association group, K-21, when I met with them, they had some different ideas on what that might look like to them. They're not big fans of warranties. They think that's just a way for them to, that's where they get you, quote unquote. So what they came back to us with was they granted us $30,000 to basically be the warranty for the auto pulses for the county. So if we have a maintenance issue, if we have one go down, if we have a battery go bad or a charger go bad, they have that $30,000 set back to pay for those to be fixed or to be replaced. I just met with Holly Swoldman last week, and where we left it was that we're going to present that out to the County Fire Association. If they're okay with that, they'll just go through me, just so they're not dealing with 14 different departments instead of just one person. And all I would do is forward that on to them. They would then replace that item or have it repaired, whatever that may be. But I do need your permission to accept that grant of $30,000 for that purpose.
So this is like a self-insurance fund?
Yes, sir, it's exactly what it is. It is, you know, K-21, given that we want that local money to stay local, they want us to have some skin in the game, some responsibility, and there are some upkeep to these auto policies. They're not free to run, but they also want to make sure that every department has that ability because of what we've been able to accomplish as a group. And so they want to basically become that insurance for the auto policies.
So remind me of what the original request was for, and I believe it was to pay the premiums on those.
It was to buy the 3-year extended warranty for all 17, actually all 20 units, because we included Syracuse's 3 that they had previously purchased in that request. And what K-21 came back with was just a different look to that. I think it's certainly gonna work. It's just a little bit different viewpoint. We know
Was that $30,000? Was that the original request?
No.
Well,
The
how much?
original request was, I believe, somewhere around $70,000 for the warranties on all 20 auto policies.
And were those unlimited warranties, and for how long?
3-year warranties. They were unlimited. I mean, they covered the charger, the device, the batteries, the same thing that K-21 is willing to insure with that $30,000 grant. We still have to buy the shoulder straps, the life bands, the carrying cases. Those things we're not included in the warranties, and they will not be included in this $30,000 grant reimbursement. This is for the chargers, the device themselves, and the batteries.
And you'll notice, Mayor, underneath Article 1 on that page, it says upon receipt of appropriate documentation, the funds will be distributed directly to the vendor. So the money will not even flow through us.
No, I appreciate that, and I like the way they're approaching it. I'm just looking at the analysis of risk here by doing self-funded versus, a warranty. But that, I'm sure you've got a comment about that.
What they talked about was that if that 30, we know that the battery life on these devices is typically 3 years. We are a year into these batteries already. So the concern that we all have is the battery prices have gone up. I believe they're now about $8.75 a piece. So that means that at the end of 2 more years, theoretically, if those batteries only go the 3 years they're supposed to, we're going to have 60 batteries that may need to be replaced. All of them go bad at one time. I voiced that concern to K-21. Nothing else happens. That's a possibility. They said that as the results we've got with this, the support, the buy-in from the county, the buy-in from Lutheran EMS, the way we've tried to use these things, is that if they need to revisit it and put more money into that, they will. Or they'll at least look at it. So
you're comfortable with, and I'm not looking to gift horse in the mouth,
No,
believe me.
no.
I think this is fantastic. It pivots a little bit from the intention of your original ask, and it's just, like you say, it's a different way of really providing the same protection.
It is. And the good news is with Zoll, with monitors, with auto pulses, with whatever devices, they're a really good company in that they will send out a replacement like that day, and you'll have it the next day. So the goal is to still keep those devices running well for as long as possible. And I think this affords us that opportunity. May have to be revisited down the road if we really have some maintenance issues. I think we've had, Edna Green had to send their board back. We had a board that failed. I think we had a battery or 2 in the county that failed already. Now, those were under that initial 1-year warranty, so they cost nothing. But I'm hoping that if there was a theoretical lemon in the bunch, maybe we've already weeded that out.
So at the end of 3 years, if you had gone with the warranty, will they extend the warranty beyond 3 years, or are you pretty much expected that those units are going to need to be replaced at the end of 3
There
years?
are departments that are using these 20 years deep. So Syracuse's units are not new. They actually got theirs 15 years ago, maybe. Back, EMS got them a long time ago. And then some rules changed, things changed, it was a long story. But Syracuse kept theirs. And when we started really applying this auto pulse theory to what we were doing, they brought theirs out, got new batteries for them, sent it in to just be checked over, and then got warranties on those devices.
So the way this sounds, there's not going to be as much concern about warranty the first few years. It's beyond that,
Possibly.
which makes this an even smarter move, that you'll have that pool of funds for your maintenance and not have to rely on an expensive warranty program.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm doing all the talking, but I really
No,
like to
I
hear
think
your
it's a wise
thoughts.
decision. I think you're guaranteed to spend 70,000 with the warranties. You're not necessarily even gonna get close to that if you don't need the warranty, so you might as well save it, and K-21 is very gracious, and has been very gracious to EMS and fire service with grants, and I think that will continue, so there's no concern from me about it, so I think it's a wise move, and K-21, they're the finance people, so.
No, I'm good with it. I just wanted to make sure that it met your needs before we accept
So
this.
if we were gonna purchase the extended warranty, that would have come out of the fire territory budget?
No, it was a grant through K-21.
Well, I know that's where we ended up, but if that hadn't been the case, we would have, and we wanted to buy an extended warranty, it would have come out of our budget.
Yes.
So really, we're saving 70,000, and they're willing to step up for 30?
The 70,000 was for the entire county. That was the,
Okay.
that was the intent. Was
Okay.
to get extended warranties for all 20 units in the
But
county.
it still would have cost us something,
Yes, sir.
and now it's not gonna cost us a dime.
Correct.
I can just say no to that. That's a win-win.
So they will administer this?
Yes, sir. The way Holly and I left it is I would just be that point person to facilitate from Burkett Fire Department has an issue with their device, it goes down, they make phone calls, and then I pass that along to K-21 and they cut a check to the vendor, so that way they're not in the middle of this.
So they won't ask for participation from the unit who's involved, it'll just be a straight reimbursement,
Yes, sir.
or not a straight reimbursement, a straight payment.
Yes, straight payment to the vendor. Yes, sir.
Gordy, any thoughts?
I still say it's a win.
Okay. Jeannie? All right.
Yeah.
Is that a motion, Jeannie?
I'll make a motion.
And I second it.
All right, any further discussion?
Thanks for the hard work, and this is a good deal. Thank you to K-21.
It's
They
great.
have been great to deal with, they really have. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Those opposed? Yeah, and again, we're not questioning their generosity, just trying to understand how it's a little different from it started out, but I agree, they've been fantastic, and we are most appreciative for that
Yeah.
grant. So let the minutes reflect that. All right, who's going to tackle this one?
So
This is the.
this is the
ambulance service lease
renew,
agreement.
correct, sir. This is the renew of the lease for the 2 bedrooms. The map shows 2 bedrooms and a place for the ambulance to park at Station 3 from Lutheran EMS. No, it actually legally says, which I have never figured out, but it's Kosciuszko, I saw it somewhere. Kosciuszko Ambulance Services LLC. So they have already signed it. It's coming to you for signature. There's really no change. There's a addendum to the back of it on housekeeping. Other than that, they have, the letter that I've got written after you approve it, it goes to the Board of Works, explains that they used the 2 bedrooms, they used the area of the ambulance space. They are part of the team. They use everything else in the building, and it's been a great working relationship, and we want it to continue to be a good working relationship. So this is just an extension of the current lease.
For 3 years.
3 years. Thank you, Andrew. I was thinking.
Yeah, but just briefly, the only thing I have to add to that is I talked with Chief about, is there anything that we need to address? And there were a couple things. He wanted to make sure there were some language put in there, making sure that the tenant was responsible for cleaning their own area and things along those lines. Janitorial services were included in the original lease. And after talking with Chief, I emailed their contact and requested that the janitorial services would not be included and that they'd be responsible at their own expense and cost to keeping their area clean, removing any trash and refuse and things along those lines. And they were accepting of those changes. So, and I verified that they did, the final one presented for signature has those changes in there. So that was the only difference between this and the original one.
And we provide all the chemical components, all the cleaning components. It's not like they got to go buy their own stuff or anything. It's just,
I want a minute to confer with our attorney.
It's worked out, okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. My question was answered. All right, any other questions?
Need a motion? I will make a motion that we approve the new lease agreement between the city and the Ambulance Services LLC.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Michael, I'll turn it over to you to present the 2022 budget proposal that will go to the council on August 16th. So if you want to start with the operating fund.
first section in your book is the operating fund. I will point to you that the first 1, 2, 3, 4 pages are actually the upload portion. You'll want to go to what we call the budget explanatory sheet. Should be your 5th page, and I'll run down through there. There's some notes at the top. Number 2 include, you're going to see in your budget for this as presented to you today, it includes 4 new hires. 1 firefighter replacement on B shift due to promotion of Assistant Chief Bollinger, and an additional firefighter per shift that helps cover the CARES program and puts that 3rd person on the ladder truck. And you're also going to see there a note that says this is assisted by funding through the ARP grant program with the mayor. So when you look at personal services, you'll see salaries and wages, the portions that we pay to others. You'll see a negative 200, that's the funds that's coming back through the ARP fund. Your employee benefits, and this is a comparison between 21 and 22. So employee benefits is an increase, and it's a healthy increase because of what we've done with the increase on insurance as an estimate, along with adding the back end for the 4 new people. That's why that's healthy. We are looking at it as a fire territory, the potential. We did a 12% increase to get to this point. History prevails that that'll probably be close to 5 or 6% increase. So eventually you will see a little bit of a cut on that. Other personal services is the clothing allowance and the personal cell phone. So the category difference for personal services, which is your employees, is $5 million. If you go to the next page.
Mike, I want to just make a quick
ahead,
comment
sir.
on ARP funding. The council is currently considering the overall budget, which includes a budget for the ARP funding. But the utilization of these funds is subject to their approval, and that would even probably go beyond just the mere allocation of it, but getting into the details of the program.
That's
So
correct.
it's not guaranteed. It's set aside, but I want to make sure you understand that that's council-driven
That's
on the
correct.
appropriation of that and how that money's spent.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Well, not, you knew that. I just
Yeah,
was
I want to make sure they
making
knew that.
everybody
Yeah,
else
as
knew
if,
that.
as
I'm not familiar with
everything
the ARP
American Recovery Plan, it's the government money that's coming through
to the city.
to the city.
And the fire territory is potentially getting 200,000 of that.
It could, we don't know how much it's getting. We just kind of set aside an amount. We've got a budget that has, there's 4 buckets. We're very early on in the process. We have till 2024 to allocate it, and December 2026 to spend it. So we're not in a hurry, but we know that the CARES Act is potentially a program that addresses mental health concerns brought on by COVID, and you know, that would be an allowable use of those funds. So I thought it was important to put into this budget, but with the caveat that it's not mine to put in, it's the council's to appropriate and then the council's to approve. So, but nonetheless is part of the discussion with this budget.
and everybody's been involved with budgets before. This is something that starts clear back in April, May, and ends in December. So that's what's written on paper. If you go to the next page, you're going to notice office supplies is no increase. Fuel, we took up a little bit. Repairs and maintenance, we took up 3,000. And smoke alarms, fire prevention, we left the same. So that category is a 4% increase. Getting on your next page, professional services, we left the attorney the same, and financial consultants the same. When hiring new hires, there is a cost involved with physicals, psych physicals, background checks, written yearly physicals, and involved in that also. So you see there's that 8,000's back in there from, that was not in 21. So that's there. Telephone, we didn't get rid of any phones, but the city council helped us. So you'll see that there's a difference between 27,000 and 14,500. Some of that is, the biggest reason is Station 3 is not on the internet section. And everything else in the city is. So we still have Station 3 on here. Training, we left the same. Mileage, postage, we left the same. And there again, that Google board pack, we removed Metronet. The Google board pack, all that went to the city budget. So they saved us another 3,500.
I think you've got, up under professional services, you've got 320.5 in professional services, and that should probably be down in communication and transportation, essentially showing a $5,000 savings there as well, as those allocations have gone into that
That's
centralized
correct.
budget.
I failed to mention that, yes. That is, that's also covered by the city. So there's that $5,000.
So it's about a $21,000 decrease in the budget.
Yes.
Due to the centralization of those charges being put into the council budget.
Printing and advertising is the same. Insurance is dropped a little bit from what it was estimated in 21. Utility services, Shirley and I left the same. Repairs and maintenance, Shirley and I, we decreased one line and increased the other, but there's no increase. You go to the next page, your rentals, debt services, the GO bond, subscription dues, employment law, miscellaneous training. The garbage and trash collection always gets asked, what's that for? That's that's the large roll-off out at the training center. Assistant Chief Bollinger keeps filling up. So there's actually, with the help of what's moved to the city budget, that's a negative 5.23. So your total, with capital outlays at no increase, you're going to be at a projected 22.2% increase. If you go on to the next page in your book, we break down for you who is on what shift. In red is the things that they do besides being firefighters. The yellows are the ones that are advanced EMTs. And then what's in the green boxes are the 3 potential new hires plus the replacement for B shift. The rest of the book The next page is just what we use, Shirley uses to figure out where the dollar amounts go. That's a comparison between 21 staffing and 22 positional staffing. There is a CARES coordinator's position in there that's in there in the event that it needs to be used. It may not. Depends on how the program goes. If you go to your next page, that's your wages, FICA, Medicare, longevity 2022. It's an attachment. That has each of your positions on the department. Even though they're not filled, you'll see the training officers in there, the EMS coordinators off in there, probationary firefighters are in there, with some assistance through HR and the wage committee. You'll see that down a little bit almost to the bottom, it says advanced EMT certifications. There's $27,000 put in there because we are doing a increase as a pay portion to those that are advanced EMT. And then, so Shirley can make her lines go back to the state form. You'll also see the ARP is in there as a negative. The next page is just a breakdown of each of the individuals. It shows their longevity, how many years of service, and as you look down through there, you're gonna see there's a lot of them that's 10, 15, and 20 years on the job. Also on the next page is the allocations for B shift additional firefighter. We have also got 2 co-op student positions in there. The way the high school class has been going, we had 2 that come to us this year to be co-op for the 21-22 school year. Did you get any? Okay. A shift, B shift, and C shift is in there also. So your FICA, Medicaid, all of that also on that page is for what we pay a portion of the City Hall section. And then you go to attachment B, the next page, that is our form where it shows where your budgeted amount, and that was a budgeted amount in 2021 of $927,000 for your Medicare, your insurance portion with a 12% increase. And again, we're hoping that with how the city's done, all of our employees have done, that all of the city doesn't have that large of an increase. The next page is fire department benefit calculations pertains to PERF, pension, employee health, dental health, life, accidental death, for all those involved in our payroll. And then clothing allowance and vaccines on the last page, and some personal services. It's the breakdown on where that money goes to. Pretty fast, pretty quick.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, you're probably just a little over $1 million increase, and roughly just under half of that is that the fire territory budget had to pick up the pension payment again this year. And that was, there was a limited amount available in the pension fund. If you remember last year, there was, as you can see in the budget, 130.04, the pension was paid last year out of the pension fund. And that was an allowable payment that was helped the fire territory budget reduce their budget by $475,000. This year, the pension board elected not to do that, so that money, that allocation, that expense is back in the budget to the tune of $475,000. So that's just a little under half of that full increase that you're seeing down there. Does that make sense? Okay.
It's amazing. Assistant Chief and I were talking today. Your budget, proposed budget is 5.5, and personnel is $5 million of it. So $500 to operate a fire department in over a year. $500,000.
And the budgets are presented. We can't raise them after they've been presented, but we can certainly cut them if necessary. And the whole budgeting process is looking at the entire city budget, and there are different revenue pots, the ARP being one example, COIT being another example. We have to look at the entire city budget to determine where the levy will fall. And I know last year we had to make some pretty significant cuts, but I think this year, again, it's kind of a wait and see but everything's been presented in this budget that has been asked for. Obviously, there are some wishes in there, but for the most part, the budget reflects the department and the direction of the department. So, we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
I would love to see those additional firefighters be kept. We're, B shift is running short, has been running short for how long?
2 years?
2 years. And then those additional firefighters, putting those guys on trucks. I mean, you were talking about the rescue that the guys had 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Just an incredible job by those guys in a very high stress situation. People in the front yard yelling. There's kids up there in that second story. And we had a fire officer who had to make the choice to enter that second story with the first story completely engulfed in flames by himself because the people were yelling, there's kids in that second floor. Technically, he shouldn't be doing that. But do we tell that family, we're short on people, so we're going to have to wait to go up and get your kids? He wasn't willing to do that, so he risked a lot. And so I fully support and think that we've got to get those people in that truck so we don't have to have firefighters face that situation again. They did an incredible job, and that fire officer told me that his training took over, so it's back to that training. He said, when I was in there, it was very intense. He said, but all the years and hours of training took over, and we got the job done. And so, yeah, I would love to see that. If anything's gonna get cut, I surely hope it's not personnel, because we're short. So.
Well, as I mentioned, those personnel are included in this budget, and we'll see how it falls. But I do appreciate your comments. We did have that discussion before you got here about how proud we were of what they did and the fact that their training did take over, and obviously it was a good ending. So your comments are well taken. All right. Any other questions or comments on this budget as presented? And again, this is our starting point. Please remember that.
Do you want to move on? Or
No, I want to ask for the approval of this budget. And again, this would be a recommendation to the city council as the host unit in fire territory.
Do you need a motion for each budget?
Absolutely.
Number?
Yes.
Not the total?
No,
Okay,
this
so I
budget.
would make a motion that this be passed on to city council.
I would like to make an additional comment.
Wait, is there a second?
Sorry.
I'll second.
All right, go ahead.
Just about the advanced EMT, getting those guys reimbursed or paid a little bit better for bettering their service to the community. We've got a dynamite group of guys that are willing to go above and beyond, even if they're not going to get paid extra to do it. And they did it just because that's what the community needs. So love to see, I'm glad that's put in there, that those guys potentially could get a little extra in their paycheck for going above and beyond. So I support that as well, and would love to see the council support that too. So.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to the equipment replacement. And again, as I mentioned, these budgets, as they're approved, they're basically a recommendation. The city of Warsaw is the host unit for the fire territory, and as such, the council has to approve that budget. So your recommendations are very important to the council. Mike, any comments on that? Mike Klondaris, yeah, as a member of the council.
No.
Okay, all right, let's move on to 410. This would be the equipment replacement fund.
Again, the first sections of this is the state forms that Shirley uses to present to the city clerk. So if you go to budget explanatory sheet, professional services we had in there at 75,000, we dropped to 35. Repairs and maintenance station 2. If you remember, we started talking about some major repairs in 2021. You'll see there's $750,000 there. That's all been re-looked at, spread over a period of time. We are putting 200,000 or asking for 200,000 in this budget. That'll help start with some interior in the equipment bay, have some metal looked at on the outside, to check and see how bad the rusting is to the beam. So there's a 71% decrease in other services and charges. Capital outlays, 2022 should be your last tornado siren for the community unless you look at doing something else with with the alerting systems that's done over cell phone.
Is this number 9?
This will be.
Yeah. And what would be the location of this one?
We have to talk, that's up in.
Okay.
We need to look at street department, or excuse me, wastewater, to see where lift stations are at. We only have one of them that we're actually paying NIPSCO a service charge on. All your other tornado sirens in your community have been set at lift stations where wastewater is already paying the meter and the fee for.
So the wastewater's paying the electricity.
Yes, they are. Another interoperability. So I need to sit down with them and look at the map and see where they're close enough to be able to help get that circle done.
Fair enough.
Community-wide communications is at 75,000 for next year. Coming to you in September will be a new presentation on where we're at countywide. There's a $3.5 million project that's going on that the county commissioners have picked up. We will have numbers put together for you for what needs to be done for mobile radios by that time. No vehicle purchase, protective gear for firefighters, new hire uniforms, all of that's left the same. Assistant Chief's got $15,000 for added supplies and whatever he needs to do at the training center. Fire hose, constant replacement, PPE vests and SCBA bottles is a little bit less, so there's another 28% discount. So you're almost 60% less for 22 requested over 2021.
All right. And again, just a note on those tornado sirens. I know you've done a great job. The Fire Territory Board has done a good job filling that out. I think when we started, we had 3 of them, and the idea was to get 9 in 3 and 3 in a geographic area, serve our community, and it's kind of gratifying to be finally caught up with that, because we all know how important that is. So any other questions on the equipment replacement?
Are all those tornado warning sirens within the territory boundaries, or are some of them out of the territory and in the county?
They are all in Wayne Township.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, because of the system you guys have done, Leesburg's looking at putting the same thing in. Milford's looking at putting the same thing in. They're getting costs now. Webster already has 2, and I'm not sure how many Syracuse has. Yeah, so it's growing for the whole county. But what you have financed has just been Wayne Township.
Okay. I was just curious if there were any outlying, and there are. apparently.
There are,
Okay,
yes, but not enough.
yeah. Thank you. I would make a motion to approve the equipment replacement fund for 2022.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. Next budget is the pension fund that I alluded to a moment ago.
So, again, I'm going to use the first page on your program, the state form, on this because it shows it a little differently. Secretary's dollar amount there. It also shows the dollar amount that's being paid to the dependents. And it shows the dollar amount that's being paid retired or those under disability. Those are the breakdowns for the beginning. You still have 2 death benefits at $12,000 apiece in your budget. You will also notice it says 1977 fund employer contribution is at 0 because that got moved back to your operating budget. Office supplies down below, $300. If you go to the next page, legal services, transportation, the event that we have to pay for the individuals to get down to Indianapolis to see the pension doctor. The dollar amount of the bond is in there for Shirley. So that totals $4,300. So your budget for 2022, the requested budget's $272,422. If you go to the next page, that's the breakdown of the individuals that are being paid. And then the state form that we pay them on.
Mike, and just as a reminder, the state pension relief does offset the majority of these costs. I don't think it's the whole thing.
No, it's, I don't know, Sean, yeah, it's close.
Yeah. So this is kind of a revenue neutral budget, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's how this fund has grown in the past, and that's how we were able to use those funds last year, and potentially could have used part of them this year. However, there are some pretty strict guidelines from the state on how those pension funds can be used from this fund. So it's just, there's money sitting there, and it really is going to sit there and grow because there's just very limited uses available of these funds. So, questions? Is there a motion to approve the pension budget, which was approved by the pension board?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. And a little mini budget here for the hazmat response fund.
The funds that come in for this hazardous materials response fund is from charges that we send out to carriers who have spilled. Assistant Chief Bollinger has created some fund income for us this year on billing. So we're putting in $3,800 request to be used for hand tools, absorbent materials, meters, and gear. That'll help towards our hazardous materials equipment. So there's more fund in there than what we're asking for. It is not a tax-based fund. This is generated from the billings that he sends out, him and Shirley send out.
All right, pretty self-explanatory. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to travel requests. We'll start with, well, they're all presented. Any questions on those requests or comments? All right, is there a motion to approve the requests as presented?
I'll move.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Any other matters to come before the board?
I had made comment a couple months ago that we're going to have to end up sending Rescue 1322, which is the orange and black rescue truck, heavy-duty rescue, to Indianapolis to have some paint work redone on it, some effects of paint on stainless. It's back, looks good, it's back in service. The guys worked well out of one of the older trucks while it was gone, and but it has all been done. There was no charges to it. It's all warranted.
My question would be warranty
Yep,
work.
it was all handled.
Great. All right.
How old is that truck now?
Came in 16.
Oh, my gosh.
16. I came back to fall of 15. It was on the floor at FDIC, which was this month. In 2016, we took delivery after that.
Time flies.
All right. Any other items carried forward? All right. Our visitors' questions and comments? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Second.
All right. I'm sure you're all in favor. Thank you.
Good job.
I think we've got a few things to sign, so don't run away.
This is for us to
please read through that. I'm going to come visit with you. That is taken care of.
Okay.
So.
You can.
Hey, Brandon,
Yeah.
You guys going to
this
play
is the
tonight?
CARES program.
Yes, I just was
Okay.
looking
So
at that.
that first page is the stakeholders. You have to have a stakeholders
Great.
put together. So we select people.
There you go.
This is 2 years. Then, this is the handout brochure that we went through and worked with them. Talks about the program, the goals.
I haven't been the regular night. We were, I don't even remember what I changed it. We're going tonight because we couldn't go last week.
Three-phase.
It's crazy.
Phase one is what
So-
we'll end up starting doing, and that's me, Aaron, just handling it. If there's something drastic and an officer needs me in the middle of the night, I'm the one that's doing it.
Yeah.
Because Christopher won't wake up. The next phase, and that dollar amount's built into that budget, is if mid-year you get to the point that
Okay, thank you.
there's too many calls.
Sure.
Mid-year 2022.
Go turn the button. There's funds in there for guys to
It was pretty amazing. They got there. They got
Again,